Would you believe that at one point Israel was trying to sell weapon systems to the United States for border management, border control? True story. Let me walk you through it. So, in a former life, I worked as a subject matter expert on border security technologies. And one of my primary client was the Boeing Company. Now, the Boeing Company has a division called Integrated Defense Services, and under that, a group called Phantom Works. And this group was responsible for the Future Combat Systems program, which has kind of fizzled away. But back then, it was a really high dollar Department of Defense thing. And this is where the rifles are connected with helmets and night vision goggles and special 3D visuals connected through satellites and mesh networks on the ground. You know, all of that situational awareness stuff with the military. Okay, anyway, so these guys were going after this huge contract that was coming out of the newly formed Department of Homeland Security. It was called the Secure Border Initiative. And the Secure Border Initiative had a particular technology procurement out called Secure Border, SBI Net, right? Now, I had worked previously at DHS and was kind of up in the upper echelons in the technology world. I was an agent, an actual Border Patrol agent that did technology. That's a whole nother story. Okay, so Israel. As the principal subject matter expert for the Boeing Company chasing this procurement, one of the things they were doing was building a coalition of companies, basically partnerships, right? Of who would be all the companies and technology solutions that the Boeing Company would put forward as their bid for this new procurement. Now, you got to understand, it was released at $4.5 billion. At that time, that represented the largest procurement outside of the Department of Defense the federal government had ever released. So it was a really big deal. And I was kind of tied in because the group that was releasing and managing that procurement was my former team. So I was kind of a high dollar, high value asset to any company that was looking to do business with Homeland Security. In that quest to identify and understand different technology solutions that the Boeing Company could bring to the table, they engaged a company called Elbit. Elbit Technologies is an Israeli-based company that is the primary and the principal supplier of border security technologies for the state of Israel, the IDF. So these guys show up and we have this big old conference room. We're in the Future Combat Systems conference rooms. I mean, I can't even express to you how crazy expensive and in scale and technology these conference rooms were. It was like going to a conference. It was like getting a presentation from Tony Stark. I mean, it was insane. It looked like something out of Star Wars, the way these rooms were set up. Anyway, so these guys show up. They have a big presentation. They're walking us through some of their stuff. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, right? So they're going through a presentation on their integrated defense on their border wall for their border security. And they were showing stuff that I've seen before with the US Border Patrol, but not quite as advanced as what these guys had. And some of it aligned with things that we were talking about. They had sensors in the ground that could measure and monitor foot traffic. They had FLIR and night vision style systems that could, be mounted on trucks and kind of surveil a whole large area. They didn't have drone technology quite yet. That was still a new thing. But they had these mesh networks where one truck would connect to another truck, which would connect to another, and create this data network and et cetera. So you could go out and they basically ran us through a live scenario, and they were showing us real footage of this, right? And just to be clear, there were representatives from Elbit, but they also brought along some actual military personnel from the IDF. They're showing us this demonstration that starts with a group of people approaching a part of the border that was only secured by this technology, right? Basically, it was monitored electronically. They didn't have necessarily people on the ground there. And you could see a group of people come off and they show you how a sensor was triggered, and the sensor being triggered alerted a camera system to basically navigate and zoom in on an area that eventually picked up using FLIR, which is hacking shit, right? Using these FLIR systems, you could see kind of the signature, the fingerprint of these people, the footprint of these people. There's like 4 of them crawling across a particular area. And then they got up, and you could see them running. So very clearly, you could do it. Now their technology in these cameras allowed you to. They framed them, and they could get a GPS location. That information was alerted, or sent off through the system to others so that they could be aware that, hey, this is happening. Up to this point, it's all automated. So these guys continue to get closer and closer to the border, and we're hearing them talk about how the data is transferred. It's all this big network, and we know what's going on, even though we're not there. They tell us that these alerts have been sent to real agents or officers, IDF soldiers, that are en route. Thing is, about 2 minutes later, the guys are just casually talking about this. And they say, and as you can see here, the data is sent to these automated defense systems, which will take the appropriate action. And next thing we see, and I'm filled with the room of these old Boeing scientist type folks. I mean, the last big project they had was putting the International Space Station up, and all these civilian types, and there's this onslaught of machine gun fire from the wall onto those people. Now this is all like night vision style visuals, right? So you don't get to see the gore, but you see this massive onslaught of gunfire, and boom, they're out, right? And what happens is half of the room erupts in laughter, and the other half, you can see it in their face, in absolute horror. And the side of the room that's laughing are the Elbit and the IDF guys. They think that's just the best thing ever. This automated system tracked insurgents, if you will, monitored their location, zeroed in their weapons, and unleashed firepower on them, literally ending them. And they thought it was the best thing ever, and that it's absolutely something that would be a good fit for our southern border. Now, thank God, this was all way before Trump and the crazy mass psychosis of what's going on today. So the people at Boeing, me included, were like, yeah, not even, no way in hell, that's something that works here in the United States. But you know what's scary? $100 says that if that same presentation was given today, Trump and his administration would be all over that, and the whole room would be laughing. True story. Stick around, I got more.